The contact and cohesion theory, which developed by Sarwari 2017, is a conceptual framework based on the Eastern context of communication. Actually, when we talk about theories, especially in the field of human communication, we know that theories are a group of viewpoints and conceptual frameworks that enable individuals, researchers, and scholars to know different aspects of communicative behaviors, skills, and abilities, and also know the differences between different aspects of communicative contexts and abilities. Actually, when there are some theories and people use in the theory are helpful, then there is no need to work on a new theory or develop a new theory, because theory in the different academic disciplines and different fields play the role of road or street in cities and towns. Actually, when there are particular towns and streets that enable individuals or people to go to their streets and their houses and solve their problem, then no need to build new roads or their new streets, because people may build many houses and buildings, but there would be a limited level or just one or two roads in the street. But when there is a difficulty or people cannot reach their goals or go to their houses easily with the use of particular road or street, they need to build a new road to reach to their houses and their homes. That's why in the field of different aspects and disciplines of science, especially in the fields of humanities and social sciences, when individuals, researchers, and people use different theories or hypotheses from different nationalities, cultural backgrounds, and different societies, when the theory are helpful and works perfectly, properly, then there is no need to work on a new theory and develop a new theory. But when they use the theory and the theory cannot cover all aspects of their work, and also the theory should be some difference based on the cultural and social aspects of different nationalities, and the theory fail to cover all aspects of the needs of research or study, then they need to work on a new theory. Actually, when we use theories from some pure science, physics or chemistry, there's things there may not be very differences between different nations, countries, and environmental areas. But when you use some theories from social sciences, humanities, and human communication, of course there would be some fundamental and important differences. During my postgraduate studies, especially during my PhD, I used Alport's 1954 contact theory, or the contact theory or contact hypothesis of Gordon Allport, which is a leading and very successful and famous theory in the field of human communication, and actually was very effective in the United States from 1954, especially after the famous case of Brown vs. Board of Education, and in the case of decreasing prejudice and discrimination among different groups and different people. And I tried to use this theory, which includes four main steps, which is shared contact, computation, accommodation, and assimilation, and also has four main conditions to be successful in the process of interactions among or between people from different groups and different racial groups and backgrounds, which are equal rank among or between the communicators, shared interest, collaborative, intergroup collaborative, and formal support or support by law in some formal issues. Actually, I used this theory and through the collection of data from postgraduate students from 22 countries. But during the continuation of my work as a PhD researcher and during the combination of data findings and also things, I found that even though the theory is very effective and successful in the western part of the world under the liberal and individualistic context of communication, but some aspects of this theory does not work in the Eastern collectivistic context of communication in among Eastern people in Eastern countries. As I done my study in Malaysia, and most of the perspectives of my study was from Asian and African countries. Especially some particular aspects when we talk about shared contact, it's mean that as human beings, when we see people without any gender or age or different aspects of differences, we can start communication. It is effective and acceptable in the liberal and Western countries, but in the Asian countries and among the Asian collectivistic cultures, there are many differences based on gender, age, and some other things, and we cannot just have shared contacts, and we have to have decided contacts. And also the second condition of contact theory, all-purpose contact theory, is computation. In the liberal cultures and also in the Western countries, the computation would may have not negative aspect or negative meaning, but in the Eastern cultures, when we say computations, immediately a negative aspect of meaning or computation process come in the mind of people. That's why when we use computation as a step, we limit the level of attraction and participant of individuals. And also the third condition of the third step of Alpert's contact theory is accommodation. It means that when people start interactions through shared contact and compete to show themselves and know some things, when they know some things, they come in, they reach in the level of accommodation. And they accommodate different aspects in norms and levels. In the end, the fourth is assimilation or integration. But when I assist the data, when I talk with different people, had different interviews, I thought that people, especially Asian people, people who belong to collectivistic cultures, do not easily start share contact without decision, because men with women, elderly with young, young with elderly, and they have to decide whether to start communication or not. That's why for the contact and cohesion theory, instead of sheer contact, I introduced and suggested contact initiation. It means that we start contacts or communication by decision. And instead of computation, which has a negative meaning in the Eastern countries, I introduced negotiation. Actually, through negotiation, after starting communication, through negotiation, people in the Eastern countries, in Eastern collectivistic cultures and communication continue their interactions. And for as a third step or stage, instead of accommodation, I suggested cognition, because in the Eastern countries, cognition is very important. They want to know one another, and based on the cognition, they trust each other or one another and they continue their relationships. And as a last step or stage, in fourth stage, instead of assimilation, which is not acceptable in the Eastern cultures, and they want to continue their interaction, they know one another, but they keep their social, personal, and cultural norms, even though they live many years together, even though under the same nationality, like people in Malaysia, people in Indonesia, India, Afghanistan, in the country. Instead of assimilation in the contact and cohesion theory, I suggested cohesion. Actually, people prefer to have cohesion, to come together, but make a colorful mosaic of human being and different sub-nations among nationalities. And that's why instead of four the steps of contact theory, which are shared contact, computation, accommodation, assimilation, and the contact and cohesion theory, which developed by Muir somewhere in 2017, based on the necessity of some problems occurred by the use of contact theory. I introduced, or the theory suggests, the contact initiation, negotiation, cognition, and cohesion. It means that by default they have to start their communication in the Eastern countries or collectivistic culture. They have to decide whether to start communication or not. Then they have to negotiate on different aspects of their life or different issues. Then they have to know one another and recognition is very important, or cognition, and they have to have become in the state of cohesion, became together and keep their cultural, social, and personal norms and continue with their own identity. And also as steps in the contact theory, Allport introduced 4 steps later after the publication of his famous book, which is The Nature of Prejudice, as equal rank between or among communicators, sharing interests, and shared collaboration or intergroup collaboration and formal support. But based on my assessment after PhD, my PhD studies, that I faced some problems in shortage throughout the use of the Allport's contact theory in the Eastern context of communication. I also done 4 more studies, and I assist and reviewed about 100 works from different researchers throughout the world, especially Asian and African countries. And I came with some conditions, 7 conditions, which are coherent competence. At first, people in the Eastern countries, Eastern cultures, and collectivistic culture, instead of having equal rank, they have to have the coherent competence to have productive and active communication, and also coherent heart is very important, because some people shy, and shyness is very important in Eastern cultures, and they have to coherent heart, and also self-knowledge or self-awareness is very important in the Eastern countries, and also purposefulness. When they start their interaction, they have to have some purpose. Even though when the male interact with female or talk with female, they have to know why. Because if there is no exact result, the communication will end with some conflict. But in the Western countries or liberal countries, it doesn't matter. And also respect differences, because when people keep their differences instead of living many years together or interacting with one another, and also constructing a single nationality, still they continue to have their own characteristics and different norms, social and cultural norms. The respect of differences is very important. When people see differences, they have to respect to have successful interactions. And also flexibility. People have to be flexible in the Eastern countries, because sometimes they may face some unwanted on different things and issues, and they have to self-regulate, they have to overcome and control their emotional responses and have acceptable level of flexibility. And the last condition is shared interests, which was the second condition in Allport's contact theory. Actually, shared interests is also very important. That's why when we use a theory from a particular culture or nation, when we face with some limitations and problems, we have to be honest, and we have to not cut the wings of our own ability, or cut the main aspects of our idea and information into just follow some aspects and norms of different cultures. And we have to be honest, and we have to accept the challenge and try to develop some new work or build some new road or way. When we develop a new theory, it means that we build a new route. That's why, as a PhD researcher, when I faced with some limitations through the use of the contact theory, honestly, I tried to do some more work. I conducted for other short, limited level of studies, and I reviewed about 100 works from different people, and I developed the contact and cohesion theory based on the Eastern or Asian context of human communication. I am Dr. Abdul Qahar Sarwari. If you think such issues in discussions are helpful, please subscribe the channel. Thank you.